G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome, everyone. Today I'm interviewing Dustan Fankhauser from LED Direct. He's based in Kansas, United States. Thanks for your time today, Dustan.
No problem. Thank you.
Let's start with how we know each other. Adam from Bootstrap Local put us in touch. Thought you'd be a good guest for us.
Yep. He does a lot of stuff for us in our company, so I'm glad he connected the two of us.
Tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
So it's actually three small businesses lumped into one. The first business is Excel Lighting and Sign. That business is a sign contracting company. Make, sell, install signage for small businesses and large businesses. LED Direct Group is our overarching main business, if you will, and it's a LED commercial and industrial lighting wholesaler. So we sell commercial and industrial fixtures to electrical contractors, large end users, those kinds of companies. And then the last business is Game Day Lighting. It spun off from LED Direct, and it solely focuses on sports lighting projects. So we retrofit lighting for small high schools, small colleges, or recreational facilities. And those are baseball, softball, soccer, tennis, pickleball, all those types of projects.
What the hell is pickleball?
Pickleball. Pickleball is the most crazy popular sport in the USA right now. It's like on a mini tennis court. You use a paddle that's hard, like wooden, and a ball that doesn't bounce as much as a tennis ball.
Yep.
It is going gangbusters around here. I mean,
Wow.
We're seeing it. Yeah, from the lighting end, they're building 10, 12, 14 pickleball court complexes all over the place.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very popular with the older crowd. So you'll see, retirees doing it because it's a little easier on the body than tennis. So it's a great sport though.
Yeah. Well, I love how you focus, or your niche really is lighting, but you've split out 3 different areas into 3 different businesses. That's very smart.
Yep. Kind of diversified, and that's the way we've grown. We haven't grown just with one company. I've seen and I saw a need and branched out into some different niches there.
Did you start them all up or any acquisitions in there?
I actually got started in 2006 with Excel Lighting. That was a company I acquired. I was really young at the time, 26 years old. I had a little capital, and I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, and I knew I always wanted to be a business owner. And so that's how I started. I bought it, and we can get into it a little later, but it turned out to be one of the most devastating experiences ever. It was a horrible experience, overcharged. The guy I bought it from was a crook. He tried to steal all my old customers from me after I bought it. I had to sue him. So that was a disaster, but that's how I started and didn't know a damn thing about the lighting business when I bought that company at 26.
So you overpaid for it, the business, you think?
Overpaid dramatically. He fudged the numbers. I mean, it was a bad deal.
Yeah, right. And what were you doing before we run through all those 3 businesses? What were you doing in 2006 before you bought that business?
I worked at a corporate job. I graduated college in 2002, and I worked for a company in Chicago called CDW, and I was in sales. I mean, we made phone calls, cold called. I was in the government side, so we sold to schools, we sold to universities, we sold to government agencies, and it was all computer networking, software, technology type products. So my dad always told me, if you're going to work for yourself, you need to work for somebody else first and get a feel for it. So that's what I did.
Yeah, great move. I did the same thing. 3 years at a big company, the biggest accounting firm in the world, and then always knew I wanted to be a business owner like yourself. Had entrepreneurial parents, so yeah, it was in the blood.
That's right. Yeah. It just is sometimes.
Yeah. Well, take us through the rest of the businesses, the timeline there.
So from 2006, when I acquired Excel Lighting, we were primarily a lighting maintenance and service company. And what that means is we had bucket trucks and we'd go out, small company, I mean, only two trucks at the time. And we would go out and change uh, parking lot poles and repair illuminated signage for customers. And it was a good business, but we started seeing the LED side of things really become quite popular in 2014, 2015. And so we were doing a ton of LED retrofits, meaning we'd go out and change traditional lighting to LED lighting at McDonald's restaurants, Burger King restaurants, all these big national chains. And so I decided that there is a niche for supplying that product, being one of the first to have a showroom with stocked inventory, teaching people about the LED lighting world because it was all relatively new. And electrical contractors at that time, they didn't really understand it. So in 2016, which that would have been 10 years later, I started LED Direct. And we basically started as a brick and mortar location with inventory, and we would sell to electrical contractors. And I developed very tight relationships with factories in China over those course of 10 years in the lighting business. And I was always one to try to get to the source. I didn't want to go through the traditional wholesale distributor supplier network. And so I went right to the source and developed these relationships. And so when I started LED Direct, we were able to partner with three or four really good quality main factories in China and buy direct from them and in turn sell direct to the contractors. So it cut out a couple layers of distribution. And that's how we got started with LED Direct. And so that business has been around since 2016. Um, and just in 2020, 2 years ago, we started getting into a lot of sports lighting retrofit projects. So our customers would say, "Hey, can you change out or put LED lights on this baseball field?" You know, small. This isn't professional sports stuff. This is, like I say, high school, small college, recreation, city recreation fields. And so we got into that business pretty heavily, and the numbers were really large. I mean, these were three, four, $500,000 jobs, and so we decided if we're going to get in that game, so to speak, we need to have a specific company that solely focuses on that. So hence Game Day Lighting in 2020 was formed, and that business, as it says, is only focused on the sports lighting industry. So that's the quick and dirty of it. And now it actually, my Excel Lighting and Sign Company, we're more of a sign contractor. I realized that everybody was going to LED, so changing light bulbs, there was no money in that. So I was lucky enough to have some employees that were pretty well versed in the sign business. And so now we're almost solely sign contractors. So we make signs, sell signs, install signs with our own crews and trucks. And the money is a lot better and a lot more profitable than changing light bulbs used to be.
Yeah, right. And do you have some key numbers you can share to illustrate the growth of the group over the last 16 years?
Yeah, I mean, we're still relatively small. When I bought the Excel lighting 20 or 2006, it literally did about $300,000 a year in revenue. And this year, with all the companies, we'll do about 4 million. So it's relatively small, but I also like it that way. I keep a very small staff. I only have 8 full-time employees
Across the three
uh,
companies.
across those three
Wow.
companies. Yeah. So we are pretty efficient. We do bigger projects now. I basically pick and choose the projects I want to do, uh, and pick the profitable ones and pick the ones that I know that we'll be good at. And I've just decided that sometimes more employees, more headache, bigger numbers isn't always the better the better avenue, nor does it mean more money at the end of the day in your pocket. So that's the way we've just done it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And so you must use contractors though to help with some of that workload. That's a massive amount of for 4 million top line, 8 team members. You lean on contractors as well.
The only contractors that we lean on are with game day lighting. So this is how they all pair together. So a lot of my good customers with LED Direct are larger electrical contractors. So we'll sell them lights. Well, we've developed relationships with them. So when we started game day lighting, we said, hey, Joe Blow contractor, we've got four baseball fields that we need to build and put new poles and new lights and run electrical on. Can you give us a bid? So now they went from being our customer to now we're sending them $200,000-300,000 install contracts for these stadiums. So that's the only company that we use subcontractors on. All the sign work is done by my guys in house. LED Direct is purely a supplier, so we're just selling product. And then the game day lighting is the one that sometimes uses subcontractors to do installation.
Wow, very smart. With the LED Direct, is that do you use a 3PL to warehouse and ship, or you guys do that internally?
We do that internally. Believe it or not, the majority of our business is right here in the Kansas City metro.
Yeah.
We do some shipping, but it's not a massive amount. Um, my philosophy with that business is we'll take a little bit higher margin and not have to sell so many products. We just because of our business model, we get a little higher margin on things.
Yeah. When was the moment you felt like you had succeeded?
Tell you the truth, it's been just recently. This is not an easy game, man. I feel like we've been successful, but I don't. For me to say I've succeeded is just in the last couple, maybe the last year or two, when I've finally found some really key employees that I could trust with the day-to-day operations. And so it took me out of the business and more on the business. And so I have a lot more flexibility. I can really drive the profitable growth. And I just feel like I'm at a point now where things are more or less on cruise control for what we're doing and making money. And that's a good feeling to have.
Yeah, absolutely. What does success look like to you?
Freedom.
Hmm.
Freedom to me, yeah, it's being able to do what I want when I want. The money is obviously what people associate with success, which, yeah, there's some truth to that. Don't get me wrong, but being able to take my kids to school when I want, go out to lunch with my wife when I want, do the things we want to do, lead a great life, that's success to me.
That's what we signed up for, wasn't it? The dream, that having that flexibility and freedom.
That's right. That's right.
Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast-growing business?
I think it's networking to me. I didn't realize how powerful networking is, but if you can develop some key relationships, people do business with people they like. And so you don't have to be salesy. You don't have to go out and try to sell yourself and sell your company all the time, but you just build relationships and treat people right and explain to them what you do and try to help them first and foremost. And that's how you grow your network. And once you have your network, the business just trickles in. You don't have to worry about it so much. So that's a huge thing. And I've never been a big go out and market myself and join all these clubs and associations. It's not my deal, but I realized how important it is, and I've hired people that are good at that, and so that's how we've grown.
How did you fund the business or the group, I guess?
Uh, I, when I bought the business, I had the capital, like I said, and then everything else has just been through reinvesting profits. And, I have some good banking relationships. So I had some line of credits that I was able to use and fund LED Direct. And then LED Direct became profitable enough that I could use the profits from LED Direct to fund the game day lighting startup. And so I try to trying to get out of all business debt that I have just so I sleep easier at night. So once that's all done and gone, it'll be a real relief. But we didn't take on any partners. I don't have any venture capital. I don't, it's just been self-funded.
Yeah, great. I forgot to ask, sorry, we'll go put this back in the key numbers bit. How many full-time equivalents did you start with when you bought the business?
We only had I basically had one full-time employee and one truck and the owner.
Yep.
And when I bought the owner out, it was just me and the other guy. Then I brought on a second member, so we'd have a two-man crew, try to get some more things done. So yeah, it was always a very small number of people, but you can drive some in the sign business. When you have a sign truck with two guys, you can drive some pretty decent amount of business
Yep.
with two trucks. I mean, right now I only have two sign trucks, and that company does about $900,000, so $450,000 a truck,
That's good.
which isn't bad. Yeah.
If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
I don't can't say that I'd go into my industry specifically, but what I would go into are these blue collar type trade businesses. There are so many people that have no interest in owning a plumbing contracting company, electrical contractor, roofing companies, commercial service companies. There's just so much opportunity out there in those, what I call blue collar or get your hands dirty trade businesses, that you can make a killing because the competition is so poor. There's nobody markets their businesses. There's just a lot of opportunity, I think, in that trade industry. Would I go into the sign and lighting business? I don't, probably not, but I've, I'm too far in it now. I made it work.
Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
Well, the most stressful, you said?
Mm-hmm. Yep. The
The most
shittiest,
stressful point.
the
Yeah,
shittiest
the shittiest part of my business was I alluded to it, but when I bought the companies and had to basically for the first 2 to 3 years of owning the business, I had to file a lawsuit against the gentleman that I bought it from. I had to fire all the employees because they were in this cahoot to try to wreck my business for the old owner. They broke into my shop, slashed all the tires in my trucks. It was obviously an inside job that he was trying to make me go under so he could take all my customers back. Stole one of my bucket trucks and put it in the river. I
Jeez.
mean, it was an absolute freaking disaster. So just being 26 to 29 years old at that time, having to know that I had no choice but to fight through it and uh try to get over that hump, and it set me back 4 or 5 years. I mean, that whole process, it was terrible, but we made it, and now I can just kind of laugh when I see that guy around town.
Yeah, that's the best thing you can do.
Yep.
I think that pretty much stops the 3 death threats I had in one of my roles in a company I was managing.
Yeah, I didn't never had any death threats, but I did have a guy with the crane truck I had at one time uh almost kill somebody, electrocuted him, got him too close to a power line, and hung on to the end of the crane and almost killed him. So that was a fun call to
Jeez.
take.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And back on buying the business, you overpaid for it. What would you do differently now?
Well, I was so young and so naive. I went through a business broker. That business broker was obviously just trying to sell a bill of goods. It wasn't I wasn't educated enough on the process. I didn't know enough people in the industry. I thought I wanted to be a business owner, so I said, shit, let's go buy something and
Yeah.
let's find something that looks good on paper. And I trusted myself enough and my sales skills enough to know that I could make it work. And so that's what I did. That was a dumbass thing to do. I mean, it was, yeah, but I was 26 years old. I mean, I see some of these 26-year-olds now, they still live with their parents, and they don't know, they don't have a full-time job. And I think, man, I was crazy at that age. So, um, but yeah, it was a crazy time.
What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
Uh, I, I think it's the networking part. Like I said, it's very something I don't enjoy is going out and glad handing people and getting known within your associations and business groups. And I'm I'm not an introvert by any means, but sometimes I feel like I'm pushing myself on people in a business setting. And so I've really had to focus on that and just try to get over it and have a couple cocktails and go do it. But yeah, that's been the most challenging part for me.
What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth?
Dealing with the cash flow problems.
Yeah.
It's it's sometimes fast growth isn't always the best growth. And sometimes you think you're making money. Like in the case of LED Direct, we thought we were making money. Our sales were great. At the end of the year, I was like, where the hell's all this money? Well, it's all sitting in accounts receivable. It's all sitting in my inventory. And it's that's a that's a tough thing to do. And so then what do? Then you go get a line of credit, and then you got to pay interest on the line of credit, and then the bank wants, got you by the what. So that's the tough part of it. People don't understand that fast growth businesses take money, and you got to leave the money in there. And especially if you have accounts receivable like my business does. If you're a cash business with no accounts receivable, well, that's a great business to be in. I've realized that.
Have you read the book The Goal by Ilyu Goldratt?
No, I haven't.
I think it was written in the 80s. It's a bit of a fable, but it's very much manufacturing and talking about inventory. And it's a really good book. I'll shoot it through to you after this.
Yeah, interesting. I'd like to see that.
What do you love most about growing a small business?
I just love the ability to wake up and not know exactly what the day's going to bring. It, I wear so many hats now with obviously three companies and different jobs with each company that the variety is what I thrive on. I thrive on being able to create and innovate and do things my way. And every day is a different challenge. Some days are easier than others, but it's that part to me, I couldn't have it any other way. If I had to wake up and do the same job every day, all day, it's it's um it's invigorating to me to not know what's coming in a day and go out and tackle it and accomplish, goals and tasks that are changed weekly, daily.
What has been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
I, it's got to be the bigger is not always better. It's not, a lot of companies that I talk to, the first thing they ask me is how many employees do you have? Like that's not the barometer for a successful or a large company. It's bigger, like I say, is not always better, but more employees is more headache, it's more turnover, it's more time you have to focus on managing those employees. So I have a small group of employees, and I've changed my mindset to realize that that's okay, and I can still make money and be successful with a small team. And I pay them a little bit more than what they're worth. I keep them happy, and I don't have to continually swap employees. And they treat me, with they treat me very well as an employer, and they take care of my customers, and that's all I can ask for. And so that's just a mindset that I have changed. I remember when I was young, I told my dad I wanted to run a $50 million company. That was my goal.
Yep.
Well, that's not my goal anymore. I don't want all that headache.
No. the
So
number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
it's just the constant work ethic of getting up every day early, not being lazy, having consistency. It's nobody's looking out for you. You don't have to clock in, clock out, but it's you have to be so self-disciplined in this business. I used to get up by 6 o'clock in the morning every day, and I still do most of the time. Now I take my kids to school, but I used to be in the office by 7, and you have to have that work ethic and that consistency, and your employees will see it, and they'll know, it's a good example to set. And uh, you can't be successful in this business just trying to take it easy and let other people work hard for you. You got to get in the trenches with them, I think.
Yeah. Want to become the best manager you can be? Check out our Kick-Ass Manager course at growasmallbusiness.com. Do the course and add your fellow managers for no extra cost. Join the 30%. 70% of people quit their job because of their manager. Can you talk to how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
Yeah, I brought in some people from another sign company that I was referred to and told would be good additions. And I brought those people in, one guy in particular, and treated him right. The next thing you know, he said, "Hey, I think we need to get this guy from my old company. He's really good." So we brought him over, and lo and behold, I took like 3 of the top guys from this other local sign company in Kansas City. They probably hate me now, but they've been an unbelievable asset to the team. They're still with me. They've been with me for 15 years, and but I can't imagine being where I'm at now without those integral people at the very beginning. And then LED Direct, I actually went and hired some younger guys that were out of college that didn't have any lighting experience, but they were extremely personable and they worked extremely hard, and they were people that I'd been referred to as well. And so just getting good, down to earth, hardworking people. We all happen to be from small town Western Kansas, which I don't know if that says anything, but we just have a little bit different mentality.
What are some of the things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
It's not micromanaging people. It's letting people um, do their jobs that they know how to do and getting out of their dang way. Sometimes bosses try to micromanage everything, especially in the trade business that we're in. These guys are experienced. They know their role, their job better than I do. So I just get out of their way. I steer them and tell them the goals, but they get the job done on a day-to-day basis, and I'm not sitting over the top of them asking 10,000 questions. I give them flexibility. I don't make them clock in and clock out. It's you tell me your hours type of thing. Now I have some checks and balances in there, but they don't have to hit a time clock. I pay them for their lunch. It's just running it a little bit differently than a typical large business that has to, report different things and be so much more strict.
Yeah. Tell our audience how you've handled balance.
Balance is something that's really important to me, and I got to be honest, it wasn't as balanced before COVID. I worked every day, all day. I was away from my house and my family, and of course they're at school, but I'm talking about in the summertime and sometimes at nights. And ever since COVID happened, it's kind of changed my outlook. And so we do work a lot more from home now as a group, myself and my 3 sales guys. I don't get into the office every day at 7. I still work from home. I used to never be able to work from home, but now I do. I take my kids to school almost every day. Sometimes my wife and I go out for lunch dates once every couple of weeks, and I'm home every day by 4:30. I'm involved in all my kids' sports activities in the evenings and on the weekends. So that's a very big thing for me. And I always tell people, we're not the fire department. There's barely anything that can't wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
How much professional development have you invested in yourself?
Not a whole hell of a lot. I'll be honest. I don't have any mentors really. I've never done professional development, paid for it, or I go to some trade shows and sit in on some conferences, but really that's about it.
Do you have a board of directors or advisors?
I do not.
Yeah. All right, Dustin, we're on to our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
The hardest thing about it is just finding your niche. I wanted to be all things and cast this super wide net. And now I've realized that the riches are in the niches. So that's why I focus 3 separate companies on very small niches. And it was very hard to realize that you want to try to do everything with all people when you're first starting out. But if you can become an expert in the niches, that's where I think you'll have the most success. And it's a hard thing to turn away business, but once you do, it's great.
Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
To tell you the truth, I'm not a huge reader. The business book, which is kind of cliche, but the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, I read that when I was young before I bought my company, and it kind of changed the way I think and made me realize that, you know what, this is what I'm supposed to do, and this is what's in my blood. And so I guess I'd have to say that book, but probably everybody else does too.
No, it's a good spread. I mean, Robert Kiyosaki is a great book, and I think I enjoyed his second book even more. I don't know if you've read Cash Flow Quadrant.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
Tell you the truth, I don't know whether this counts, but I use Twitter a lot. I find Twitter, there's some really good people on there that are in. I also do some commercial real estate investing. There's a huge real estate group on Twitter and people to follow. There's a lot of small business people on Twitter that I use and learn from. There's, I follow sports people as well, but I have learned so much on Twitter and gave me ideas which I took to my market or took to my business or researched and made it work for what we're doing. That thing has been incredible to me.
One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
Jobber for our business, those types of online scheduling softwares that map and route, handle digitally the transactions of the business has been huge. It makes us look professional. We can send and bill very quickly. There's not a lot of paper to be lost. We're efficient. Those have been huge helps to our company.
Finally, my favorite question: what would you tell yourself on day one of starting out 16 years ago?
That you're going to have to buckle down because this is not going to be an easy road, and there's going to be more downs than ups. And the ups probably won't be as good as you thought they were, and the downs will probably be worse than what you thought they were going to be. And that's pretty much the truth.
Great. Thank you very much for your time today, Dustin. I really enjoyed our chat. I'm sure we could have talked for another hour. And congratulations on the growth over the last 16 years and where you've gotten the business and your lifestyle to right now.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And for our audience, we'd greatly appreciate a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. More More reviews means we bubble up higher in iTunes, etc. So more business owners looking for podcast help with their growth will find us.